Hello everyone, my name is Erin Moore, and today I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me not so long ago that changed my life. I'm not usually a very open person when it comes to my past, but I think this is the perfect story to tell when it comes to life-changing events. This story was the first one I thought of when I read the prompt. When I was a senior in high school, I applied to UF with high hopes of getting accepted to my dream college and getting a great education. Honestly, I never thought it would happen, but somehow I got accepted. I came home from school one day and my dad was home early, which never happened, and he handed me a serious-looking letter and said, "I think this is your letter letting you know whether you got in UF or not." So obviously I started freaking out. As soon as he handed me the letter, my heart started pounding. I opened it, and as it turns out, I was accepted to the University of Florida right out of high school as a freshman. I couldn't have been happier or more proud of myself, and my family was ecstatic. Little did I know that in a couple months, my life would be not so joyous when the topic of UF came up. So I moved to Gainesville in August of 2010. I was 18 years old, and I had a wonderful townhouse, and I was living with a really good friend from my hometown, and class started. I got my scholarships and grants, and I was enrolled to have a degree in sports management. Yeah, I don't know why, but that's what my degree was at the time. So classes start, and as many of you probably know if you were a freshman at UF, it's not easy to come from college and to come from high school and to start at UF. None of your teachers care. I mean, at least that was my experience. None of my teachers cared if I got an A or if I got an E. So you're pretty much just forced into a whole new world, and you have to sink or swim. That first semester of college for me was the worst time and the best time of my life, somehow. But I was taking 15 credits, which I haven't done since then. I get really stressed out when I take that many classes. And I had a scholarship money, like a bunch of scholarship, Bright Futures money to spend on whatever I wanted. I wasn't living at home anymore, and there's so much more stuff to do in Gainesville than there is in my hometown, old rinky-dink Okeechobee. So, of course, I was always out trying new restaurants, buying clothes, whatever I wanted. But before long, it was the end of the first semester, and I had to drop calculus because I'm terrible at math, and the teacher just wasn't that great. And I got an E in microeconomics because I just didn't apply myself at all to that class. And I also got a B in first year Florida, which if any of you have taken that class, you know you pretty much have to try to get a B in that class. I don't know how I did it. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I spent every dime of my scholarship money by the end of the semester, probably before the end of the semester actually, and I was forced to sell old prom dresses that I loved because I needed cash. I couldn't ask my parents for money. They were already paying my rent and paying my car insurance and all that stuff, and they just expected, and they were not wrong to expect, that I should have been able to afford it with my scholarship money, but somehow I spent it, and it was a very low point in my life. I was so used to being such a good student for my whole life that when grades came out that first semester and I saw that I achieved nothing more than a 1.0 GPA, I was devastated. And when I told my family, it got even worse. The look in their eyes when I told them how awful I did was heartbreaking, and they threatened to make me move home and go to community college. I couldn't stand the thought of that. After living in Gainesville from Okeechobee, if anyone of you has ever been to Okeechobee, you know what I mean. That was a major turning point in my life, and from then on, I promised my family, and more importantly myself, that I would do better the rest of my time at UF, and I would graduate with the degree that I'm passionate about, which turned out not to be sports management, by the way. It's actually agricultural communications and education. So the next semester I made myself a schedule every week of times I needed to sit down and make myself study and make myself watch my online lectures. I also wrote down the amount of money I could spend a week to make sure that I didn't go broke again. And the end of spring semester in 2011, I had managed to get a 3.4 GPA for this semester, and I was so happy and proud of myself, and my family was ecstatic, and they loved that I proved myself to them. I was back on track in life, and it was awesome. Even though it was a terrible phase in my life, I would not go back and trade it for the world, because I learned that nothing's free, and most things that you really want, you're going to have to work for it. And I know a lot of people might not agree with that statement, but for me, that's the way I have to think about it, because if not, then I slack off. So if I really want it, I know that it's going to take a lot of work. But yeah, and I also learned the value of $1. I mean, before I came to college, I really thought that I knew how much my parents meant to me, and they would give me money if I needed it. But now my view of how much $1 is really worth is better, and actually a lot of my friends get aggravated with me because I'm so cheap now. But I used to be really embarrassed to tell this story because I don't like to fail at anything ever. Like, I won't play Monopoly because I don't like to lose, and I am just really competitive, and was so just down about it. It's an embarrassing story, and I did fail that semester in many ways, but now I feel comfortable telling this story because I know I learned so much, and I really don't want a lot of people to make the same mistakes as I did if they're becoming freshmen at UF, or if they're just transferring from somewhere else coming to Gainesville. And so that's my story, and thank you for listening.